high levels of inflation and a world in polycrisis. We hear a lot about that, global conflict, recession. What should people do to protect themselves from a lot of these problems? With fiat money being worth increasingly little. Here to tell us more about that, we have Marc Friedrich from Germany. He's a financial author and advisor, and the author of 7 bestsellers and host of one of the largest YouTube channels on finance and Bitcoin. Marc Friedrich, join us on the stage.
Marvelous, thank you. Good morning, Prague. Great to be here. Thank you. It's an honor speaking here in Prague at a Bitcoin conference. I hope you're all awake. Yeah. Who is German? Wow, okay, dann mache ich es in Deutsch heute, oder? Hey, democracy, or isn't it? No, just kidding, I do it in English, of course, or in Czech, or in Spanish. Anyhow, I'm happy you're here because I thought 9 o'clock yesterday, Germany won against Scotland 5-1. I thought I speak just to my team and some friends, but I'm glad you made it. Yeah, thank you, Mama. Anyhow, it's exciting time right now, and I want to introduce my new book, and I've got the 4 last copies here. If you want to purchase it later, of course, I'm here to sign it, and I also have a little present for nice guys. Okay, so anyhow, let's start. Some topics about me: best-selling author, consultant, speaker, of course. So if you want to invite me for your birthday party, or you get divorced, or you get rid of shitcoins, you can invite me. I'm a very funny guy. I don't drink alcohol, and I know how to use a toilet. So please invite me. I'm desperate. No, just kidding. Anyhow, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on social media, on X, for example, but also, if you want to, you can follow me later to my hotel room. No, just kidding. I'm married. So, I want to start with a quote from The Matrix. Who left The Matrix already? That's what you think. No, I don't know if you know this quote from Morpheus. He said, what you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there like a splinter in your mind driving you mad. And I had this feeling since I was actually a little child, since I was like 5 years old. I just told it on a podcast yesterday the first time that I was praying every night that I want to change the world. I knew that something is wrong with the world. Is it possible that we're all in this wheel, working, sleeping, perhaps sometimes fucking and then dying? Yeah? So this is not healthy. We need more humanity in our society. And I think the foundation of everything is money. It's an energy. And that's why I wrote my 7th book. It's a Bitcoin-only book, actually, but I worked 2.5 years for it, and I think it's the most essential work I ever did. So if you're ready to exit the matrix, we can jump into it. And I want to show you that we as a society, as a world, are on a turning point. We all feel it, that there's a paradigm shift going on in the entire world. And I want to show you, I think the turning point was COVID. So before COVID, we had deflation. After COVID, inflation. And you see it everywhere. In the society, you see we had low interest rates. Now we have high interest rates. We had cheap commodities before COVID. Now we have high expensive prices for commodities, energy, and so on. We had cheap labor. Now it's very expensive, and so on. And the most important thing is, we used to live in a unipolar world before. Everybody knew the US is the mighty player in the whole fucking game, geopolitical. But now we see definitely a multipolar world. It's changing very fast. And we see deglobalization, and this is very, very important. This is more important than, perhaps even Bitcoin, yeah? So the time of peace is over. Now we are in a time of war. And you see it everywhere. You see it in Israel, you see it in the Ukraine, and you see it perhaps in China and Taiwan. And we have high debts. Now it's even higher. And the worst thing is, we had capitalism before COVID and only 2 genders, but now we have socialism. And socialism is death. Socialism is the plague. We have to fight against socialism. This is the most important task or the learning you have to take away today. So And yeah, we had a sound world before, now we have a clown world, yeah? So for example, like I mentioned, I had biology in Germany. I learned that there are only 2 genders and perhaps a third one, but now in Germany we talk about, in Germany you can exchange your gender your sex every year now. It's very great. And if you behave, I show you later which one I chose this year. So, and that we have volatile times, you see also there, that this year, half of the population of the earth will vote. There will be elections. And the elections, for example, in the European Union wasn't that great. We saw that the right parties, the populist parties, got stronger and stronger. And this is a trend which will continue. And we have Trump this year, so we will see what's happening. So we see that the world is in turmoil. And this is a really nice quote from Shakespeare. And he said, "'Tis the time, plagues, when madmen lead the blind." And I know who you think about when I quote this. Perhaps you have a picture in your mind of a politician. I just give you 2 of them. That's them. And we have many more, many more. Also, those guys are mad. Yeah? Xi and Zelensky and Putin and everybody. And yeah, they start wars because right now we're in a new phase of the human development, of the evolution. And Putin said something very, very interesting. He said when he met Xi, right now there are changes, the likes of which we haven't seen for 100 years. And we are the ones driving these changes together. And this is true. And this is why we transformed from a unipolar world to a multipolar world. This is why we see the end of globalization. And this is very important, because this will have impact on all of us, on the monetary system as a society, but also with war and peace. And I have one nice chart on this slide from my book, and this shows you, if we have, for example, Pax Britannica or Pax Americana, this is a time of peace. We all know there's one empire, and they take care about everything. If there's a war, they come with the troops and bring democracy, of course, yes. But anyhow, this time of peace, Pax Americana or Pax Britannica, is always a time of growth and stability. But as soon as the hegemon, like the US, for example, is faltering, then you have a time of uncertainty. You have a time of revolutions, of inflation, and of stagflation. So no more growth. And this is very, very, very dangerous for the whole world as well as for the societies. So in the next couple of years, we will see more revolutions, more wars, unfortunately, because the war cycle, which I described in the book, is actually happening right now. And on the other side, you see the end of the hegemony of the US, for example, how they get treated, the politicians. For example, Blinken went to Turkey, and not Erdogan or the minister of Foreign Affairs welcomed him. No, it was the second mayor of Ankara who waited on the airport for him. So you see, the power of the US is faltering, and this is very important actually, because now we see definitely that other countries like the US, Russia, Brazil, India, they emancipate themselves. They say, hey, we don't want to use the petrodollar anymore and so on, but the dollar. And I know you all hate the dollar, and the question, the most frequent asked question for me is, Mark, when will the dollar end? When will the euro end? The dollar is still number 1. And the last couple of months were very interesting because the US is moving into the direction of Bitcoin, adopting Bitcoin. Perhaps they realize it's superior, and if we underlay the dollar with Bitcoin, perhaps we will still be number 1. Perhaps we will see this development in the next couple of years. The problem with the dollar is, and I think John Connolly said it perfectly, the dollar is our currency, but it's your fucking problem, and we don't care. Did you ever wonder why the US can print so much money? Did you ever wonder why the deficit is gigantic? You know, here on the slide you see the gray stuff. This is the deficit, the dollar denominated debt, and on the left side the US is printing, and there's a big deficit because they implemented the world currency, and they can make as much debt as they want to, and we buy it. We all buy it. All the world is in debt in US dollar. And actually, so we have I don't know if you know Brent Johnson and the dollar milkshake theory. So the dollar will be around a couple of years. We won't see the end of the dollar in the next couple of years because they actually superior. And here, the one problem the US has is that the purchasing power of the dollar is, of course, declining. Every fiat currency lost 90, 95 or 99% against gold, against real estate, against stocks, but especially against Bitcoin. And this will continue, of course. And here you see currencies come and go. This is totally normal. In the last 100 years, Germany had 3 different currencies. And if you look in the mirror of history, you see currencies come and go all the time. In average, every 80 to 100 years, currencies implode. It's always the same game. I tried to make my point yesterday on the panel with Jack Mallers that, for example, it doesn't matter if it's democracy, socialism, a dictatorship, or a kingdom or an empire. After 80 to 100 years, they got boring, or they start a war, or there's a revolution, or they have to finance bread and circuses to get elected, and so on. And then socialism starts, and then a sound monetary system gets transformed into a fiat system, into an unsound system, and then it implodes after a couple of years. It's always the same. Here you see the deficit of the US, and it's enormous. It's mind-boggling, actually, and it's getting bigger and bigger. But it's no problem, because they can print money, and we have to buy the debts. Every country in the world is buying the debts of the US. And the thing is, this is a real problem. I don't know if the laser works now. So in orange, you see the taxes they receive, and you see about the spending in blue. So the spending is much higher in the US, and in the last couple of years, it just exploded. So the gap, it's getting bigger and bigger. This is, of course, a ticking time bomb. And one day it will go off. We don't know when. It's not a question when. It's not a question if. It's a question when it implodes. And we all will feel it. But actually, the US dollar, as the US, will be the last currency, the last country who will fail. Before that, every other currency will fail. For one other example why COVID was so interesting, it's, for example, the deficit here, what the US government paid, for example, for the Marshall Plan to the GDP. It was like 5.4%, nothing. And the GDP grew actually in the last couple of decades. But have a look at this, COVID. The financial spending in percentage to the GDP was over 20%. This is crazy, crazy. Yeah, but they will continue with the same recipe like in the past. The debasement will come. They will devalue, of course, the US dollar. There will be another rate cut, of course, and quantitative easing is coming. It's just a matter of time. As soon as they cut the rates, I just can advise you to sell your stocks and sell even Bitcoin. No reaction? Okay, I just check if you're awake. No, as soon as they cut the rate seriously, don't sell your Bitcoin, but sell your stocks if you have any. And this will trigger the next wave of inflation, of course, because if we cut the rates, we will have more money. There will be a correction at the stock market. It's good for gold. It's even good for Bitcoin, of course, if we have lower interest rates. But we will see a second wave of inflation and a third one. It's always the same game. It's like in the 70s. And I think the second wave of inflation will be even higher. I think we will see double-digit inflation rate in the European Union as well in the US. And it will be quite tremendous, actually, for the normal citizen. And inflation is actually, you can't stop inflation. It's like a programmed code in the whole system. As soon as inflation starts, it's the beginning of the end, actually. And inflation means wealth inequality. And you all work, for example, for money. You all spend the most scarce thing you own, your lifetime, and you work to receive money. And if this money gets devalued, it's not only theft, it's a criminal act. You have to fight against it. And we will see inflation the next couple of years, and I think it's like always the same with the Cantillon effect, of course. Some people, very little people, get incredible rich. I guess it's you guys, because you own Bitcoin, and most people will lose actually. So it's a losing game. Inflation is a losing game, but it's also the foundation for revolutions and for wars, because the outcome is always the same. We saw it in the past 2,000 years, and I tried to make my case in looking into the back mirror of history, and you saw it in 2,000 years. Every currency comes and goes. Every empire is rising, and then it's faltering and is dying. And so this is actually what always happens. And I said it yesterday. I have the hope that, for example, Bitcoin it's something else, that we don't need a revolution or a war like in the past, because every empire starts with a sound monetary system. But after time, like I mentioned it already, they start with inflating the monetary system, and then it's the end, actually. But perhaps this time with Bitcoin, we can make a turnaround and don't have to go through the hard way, through the catharsis, and start with a war or revolution. I want to talk a little bit about the little brother of Bitcoin. It's called gold. I don't know if you know it. And it's also a little bit sound. The interesting thing is I expect new all-time highs with gold as well in the next couple of years. And we saw that all central banks all over the world bought gold, not Bitcoin, not yet, but it will come, because they know what's happening. They expect also a new wave of inflation. They expect wars, I guess, as well as difficult times ahead of us. That's why they're buying Bitcoin like never before. And we see it here on this chart, for example, the Bank of China, the Bank of Japan, they sell their US treasuries and they buy gold. So they don't trust their own product anymore, the paper money, the fiat money. So they buy, for example, gold or other stuff. And there is this rumor going on that the BRIC states will implement a gold-backed currency. And this was a really interesting quote from Sergei Glasiev. He's an advisor to Putin. And I think perhaps there is some truth into this quote. We will see in the next couple of years. But if you look which central banks buy gold, it's definitely the BRIC states. It's Brazil, it's Turkey, it's Hungary, it's India, it's China, for example. So they prepare for a time of war, I think, because they saw how fast the Russian assets got seized. And that was actually a big mistake from the US government, because they had one bullet, they used it, but they didn't hit the victim. And now everybody gets prepared for the time when, for example, Saudi Arabia is saying something wrong against the US, or if China invades Taiwan. So they prepare themselves so they're not getting hurt by sanctions or seized assets and so on. I know there are many questions. I have some information about investment and price, but I also want to do a Q&A, so I just skip fast through the slides here. So right now, we all know Bitcoin is the scariest asset in the world after the fourth halving. So it's scarier than gold, for example. We have an inflation rate, yeah, you see it here, 0.8%, and with the next halving, it's 0.4%. So it's getting more and more scarce, and that's one reason why everybody should definitely own Bitcoin, because like I mentioned, you invest the most scarce thing you own your lifetime to work, to receive, to earn money, and then you need the perfect store of value. And right now, it's definitely Bitcoin. And here you see that Bitcoin is superior to gold. This is also a chart from my newest book. Bitcoin is the best investment so far. Like a very famous Bitcoiner would say, there is no second best. Yeah? And here you have the proof, actually, even gold, which is around for 5,000 years, is underperforming against Bitcoin. And we're still early, actually, because if I'm still on the expo stage, not on the main stage, we're still early, I have to say. No, just kidding. But look around you. Look at your colleagues at work. Look at your friends. Look at your neighbors. Who is owning Bitcoin? And the most important question, who is understanding the monetary system? It's only a homeopathic dose who understand that the monetary system it's a scam. So we have to educate the people. That's why I'm doing my YouTube channel. That's why I'm holding these speeches or writing these books. And it's the most important thing to understand the monetary system so you can defend yourself against what's coming. And this will be war, this will be inflation, this will be perhaps even revolutions. So Exactly. We see the price development before the halving, and I think we have the left translated cycle. It was the first time we saw a new all-time high before the halving. So the question right now is, was that it? Will we see another record high in the next couple of months? I think yes, but the last couple of days were not that promising, actually. We are on the lower range, and perhaps we will break through. That would be bad, actually, but I'm still positive. I think in this cycle, till end 25, we will see new record highs, and I think we will see 6 digits, so over $100,000. And even if you look here, you see the Bitcoin price. In black, this cycle is the black one, the black line. We're still pretty early, actually, so there's still some room to go. It looks not that bad, actually, and that's why I also think the cycle top is not in yet in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, different. Here you see, for example, what's this again? The Bitcoin cycle, there's still room to go up, actually. So I expect 6 digits in the next couple of months. Like I said, perhaps till end of 2025 or early 2026. But hey, we will see. This is also a little bit a bearish take on Bitcoin, if we believe the left translated cycle was already the high. And here you see the bull cycles and the performance from 2010 to 2011, and you see how the multiple always goes down with every year, with every bull market. And so this would actually say that we already saw the high with 73,000 bucks in March, because this would be already a price increase of 4.8. But I'm curious about your price targets. You think the top is already in? No? Ah, okay, we're still early. I shorted right now. Anyhow, the one thing which is driving the Bitcoin price, and is one of the most important things, is actually the money supply, the global money supply. You just have to look at this chart, and then you can say, is the bull market still on, or is it off? That's the most important chart, I think. And right now, it still looks good, but you need to have to check the global money supply, because this drives the stock market, gold, Bitcoin, every asset on the planet. And if the money supply falters, everything is done. So you just have to check 2 things, actually. Is the Fed cutting the rates? And if they cut the rates, get rid of your stocks, because then after 3 to 4, 5, 6 weeks or months, the stock market will crash. It happened the last 30 years every time. And the money supply. That's the most important things you have to know, actually, for the price action. And that's my case about the interest rates, because everybody thinks, oh, if the Fed cuts the rates, that's positive. More liquidity comes into the system. The stocks will go up. Everything will go up. It wasn't the case the last couple of decades. Yeah, you see here, for example, you see since 1973, we had stock market crashes between 27% and 58%. So this is my warning to you, because the whole majority thinks as soon as they cut the rates, the bull market will go on. No, it's not. So what's the learning, the takeaways for today before we do some questions? We are living in a historic paradigm shift, and we all feel it. Something changed with COVID the last couple of years, and we see the hegemon, the US, is faltering. I think the best example, of course, is Joe Biden, which is like, yeah. Then we have volatile, uncertain times, and they are always, it's a very important point, actually. These uncertain times, these times of chaos and anarchy are the breeding ground for a new monetary system. When did the last monetary system got established? When was it? It was the Second World War. Yeah? So we need always crises to establish a new monetary system. And we always start with the sound money. The Bretton Woods monetary system was sound money. It was backed with gold. So this time, we escalated everything in any direction. This time, we will have a big crisis, but we also will have the soundest money humanity ever had. And we have the solution. It's called Bitcoin. This is great. And it's the first time the government and the monetary system got separated thanks to Satoshi Nakamoto. Inflation is coming back. We will see rate cuts and assets will decline. You have to invest in limited assets in inflationary times. So it's limited by nature or math. You can go all into Bitcoin, of course, but for example, in my company, I try to diversify the assets for my clients a little bit. So there are also very interesting commodity stocks and so on, uranium or gold or whatever, but they also can do a 10 or 20x. So I'm a big fan of commodities and gold, silver, and I expect new all-time highs there. The Bitcoin all-time high is coming. We will see more war against freedom and Bitcoin. We will see more socialists, of course. I'm positive that the US understood Bitcoin and then they will adopt it and they will make perhaps like a Bitcoin reserve currency with the dollar. We will see. And you have to invest into the hardest assets, actually. So, and I want to end the presentation with a quote from Voltaire, who was a philosopher, but also a quite good economist. And he said, all people are smart. Some before, others after. And you can make the decision right now, of course, after this presentation. Will I still own my life insurance? Will I have debts? Will I live in a fiat world? Or do I want to have a better future, an orange future? And if you understood the monetary system and you think, okay, I want to be the smart one, please educate your neighbors, be a multiplier, talk to your friends, talk to your family. They should, don't be hard to them. Like, don't try to persuade them and be too harsh. And hey, you have to understand Bitcoin. Start with little information about the monetary system. That's how I always do it. Because if you come with Bitcoin, they're already gone. So if you want to follow me, that's my website and my Twitter account and Instagram account. And if you have questions, I would be happy to take a couple of them. You have to go? Everybody's going, I know. So, but there's one question. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Deku thank you, muchas gracias. Thank you. Very kind. I'm glad you liked it.
Mark, I have a question relating to the second last slide, so the one before the Voltaire quote. You have 2 bullet points there at the end. War against freedom and Bitcoin will continue.
Yeah.
And then USA likely to adopt Bitcoin. How do you square? That seems like a contradiction to me, those two things.
Yeah, but they always, and it's gone. Okay. The thing, it's a game. It's a game, of course. They tell you the one thing, but do the other thing. It's always the same. You can't believe what you see in the news or on the telly. Of course, I believe they understood Bitcoin at the US government. And you saw the switch from Donald Trump in the last couple of months, but you also saw the incredible switch of Larry Fink from BlackRock. He hated Bitcoin before, and now he embraces it. Why they're doing this? And I think in Europe, for example, they fight Bitcoin like the European Union as well as Ursula von der Leyen because it's freedom money. And I think they want to take over Bitcoin because they realized, okay, we can't ban it, we can't control it, we can regulate it a little, but hey, we need another plane. And I think, because everybody is so happy and hyped about the ETFs, I'm not. Yeah, exactly. I'm not that hyped because I think the banks and the monetary system we have right now is still the enemy. And out of a sudden, all the Bitcoiners are, hey, BlackRock, you're the greatest guys, let me suck your cock. Yeah, what the fuck is going on? Of course, they're driving the prices higher, but they're still the enemy. They're still the most supporters of the fiat scam. And perhaps they realized, okay, if you can't beat your enemy, embrace your enemy. Let's buy as much Bitcoin as possible. Let's manipulate perhaps the price, and then let's get all the suckers out of Bitcoin and buy them perhaps cheaper. We will see. But I'm very suspicious about the development. But the US wants to be the hegemon for the next 100 or 200 years. And they will do everything to keep the world currency status. They will start wars. They don't fucking care about Europeans, about Chinese people, about people from Israel. The one and only thing they want is power. And they will do everything for it. So I think they already realized Bitcoin is superior. they will adopt it, they will buy it secretly, perhaps over companies, and they will perhaps one day come out and say, listen, all these other fiat currencies are shit, but we have gold and we have Bitcoin, and we make a second layer, or we put it underneath the dollar, and you can trust us. Perhaps that's the solution. We will see. It's a speculation, but don't underestimate the US. They're not dead. The US dollar isn't gone so far, and I think they will win. I think the US will be the first country in the world who will offer the world currency two times afterwards. Yeah. Another question?
Yeah, Marc, probably you already gave me the answer. As I understood you yesterday, you said that there is a danger that Wall Street abuses the philosophy of the Bitcoin. And that's why probably you answered it already, that's why I asked myself, or asked you, why the US should adopt Bitcoin then? And why don't they prefer gold over Bitcoin?
Did you sleep? No, I made a case for Bitcoin actually. Bitcoin is superior to gold. Bitcoin is the only asset on the world we can definitely tell when it ends. We don't know how much dollar or euro the central banks will print. We don't know how much gold is in the earth or on a planet. But we know Bitcoin will end in 2138 with around about 21 million coins. That's it. So it's the scariest asset humanity ever saw. And that's what they also realized. That's why they want to adopt it. And I think the nation who adopts Bitcoin first, that's why I made my case that perhaps the Deutsche Bundesbank or Germany, please buy Bitcoin. 1% of GDP or something will be actually the world power for the next 1,000 years. So I'm still around. I don't know if I have any more time. I don't think so. But I stick around. If you have questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you very much for your time. Take care and love. Thank you. Děkuji.